It's not what I meant, but okay. Oh.
And there you go.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to another sensational session of Strike a Chord Live podcast with my dear brother, Colin Harbor. He's right there in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Marcus Ellis. I'm here in Pensacola, Florida. Colin, why don't you tell him who we are?
We are two lifelong friends with a love of baseball, music, motivation, and inspiration mixed with a little bit of nostalgia, culture, transformation, and fun. And we want you to take the journey with us.
This is Strike a Chord Live podcast. Man, that was a lot better. I think you liked
that. Was
better,
good.
Right?
It didn't loop. It didn't do some of that kind of stuff. That was good.
Flip off just really quick. Well, man, I'm super stoked this morning. I want to say welcome everybody to another sensational session of Strike a Chord Live podcast. What's happening? Today is March 10th, 2023. If you can believe it, we're already 3 months into the year. We've talked about that, Colin. Good morning, Andy Strebel. I love you. But Colin, I'm super stoked this morning because, man, I've been talking to Terrance for about 2 years. This is the first time we've seen each other face to face.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. We've never met. But the cool thing is, I'm a Clubhouse guy. I love Clubhouse and I like being on there. And Terrance and I connected on Clubhouse. He's been a commentator on the session here many times when we used to connect Clubhouse. He's an author. He's a poet. And he's just a dear, dear brother of mine.
Barbecue enthusiast.
So we're going to get into it, man. Terrance, I love you. Welcome to Strike a Chord Live podcast. What's going on, bro?
Oh man, I'm doing great. Thank you all for having me. I love you as well. Everything's good. Everything's good.
Well, man, that's awesome. You're in South Carolina, which I love South Carolina. To me, Charleston is just like a Northeast New Orleans. I love being there. The culture, it's very cool. What's up, Jody Mabry? I see you there. I love you, bro. There's a Facebook user. I love you. Can't see you. Peggy Gossman, Ryan Little. We love you. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of it, Colin. So we know Terrance is like a little bit, more cerebral than us because he's got these incredible poems. He's got a blog. Terrance, why don't you tell us about yourself, bro?
Okay, well, I guess I'll start with my blog journey. I had been writing poems since I was younger, and I kind of stopped. I think it was maybe a period of 10 years, I think, maybe less. But I would come up with these poems, but I never really wrote them out. And it just, to myself, I was saying, well, as long as I have them in my head, I'm still kind of creating them, but I wasn't really writing them out. And when my wife and I, we were friends at the time, she kind of gave me a inadvertent challenge to finish a poem. She asked me, when was the last time I wrote a poem? And I said, yeah, I wrote one the other day. I got it out. And she said, did you write it? And I was like, no. She was like, well, it's a lot of good it's doing in your head. And so I felt challenged. So I finished that poem that day. I sent it to her. And then after that, I began to want to keep writing. And I was like, this would be cool if I wrote maybe 9 more poems to go with it. But then it turned into 50 something. It turned into a book. And I never let anybody really know that I wrote poetry. It wasn't that I was trying to keep it secret, just never came up in the conversation. And so I decided to create a blog before I published my book to post poems every Wednesday, just things about love. Try to get some more love out there in the world. So that's where I started.
Well, that's why I love Terrance, Colin. He's got
this is great. And I just put up the web address to the blog, and I was looking at it last night, and I was thinking about poetry. We've had a poet on here before, right, on Strike Chord Live podcast, but it's great, and I think it's important. I'm glad your wife asked you the question. What good is it doing in your head, man?
Yeah.
Right. So I think, because I'm a big believer in blogging or podcasting or live videos and all that, because, and maybe everybody's not comfortable with it. I get it. But yeah, when you've got a message, whatever that message may be, right, there are tools now to communicate it, and it impacts others. It helps others, right? In a lot of ways, maybe not every day, maybe not all day long, every day, but it generally does.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because I have a podcast now that stemmed from my blog. After so many years of doing my blog, I kind of felt the push to do something different and kind of expand. Like, the blog just wasn't enough and the books just weren't enough. So I created a podcast, the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast, which is an extension of my blog. And there I talk about love and different topics and just uplifting things to get people uplifted, things to get people motivated, because it seems like, my slogan or phrase or whatever you want to call it is, I'm here to spread love in a world that seems to be full of hate. And I say seems because it's not full of hate, but if you look on social media, if you look on TV or anywhere else, it may seem like it's full of hate, but there's a lot of love in the world. And so I just wanted to do my part to show people that there's a lot of love and that love is here and love is winning.
Love ultimately wins. And it's kind of funny because I'm sitting here with like two love guys, that talk about love, that tell people they love them, that write about love. It's kind of making me think that I need to change my theme a little bit, but you're right. I don't know. We didn't talk. I don't know if you have children or not or anything like that. Mark does. I've got a teenager and a younger daughter. I mean, they all act like they hate each other on social media, right? I mean, and I think social media is a big driver of it, right? Social media,
Yeah.
and I'm not just talking about the normal growing up and, but everybody thinks they've got to be, like you said, it seems like everybody hates each other, right? But they're not. That I guarantee it, we don't. It's the old, if you would just sit down with somebody and have a cup of coffee or what, or
Yeah.
eat some barbecue, you'd probably find out you have a lot more in common than you think, and you'd probably get along a lot better, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's just having a conversation. If you think about like all the hate and all the different things that happen, it happens as we get older. Like when you see kids,
Come on.
they see each other, they're just excited to see another little person. They don't care, whether they're short, tall, black, white, anything like that. They're just like, wow, it's somebody that's my size. And they get so excited and just play so freely. But then when we get older, we have all these different things introduced to us. And then that's where all the hate and all this different thing come about. And some of it is not even personal experiences. It's experiences that other people may have had or things that we've been taught. But when we have conversations with people, and even if you met somebody and you don't really mesh with them, I found that times when you really sit down and talk to that person, you have more in common than you actually know. And it's just that we're not sometimes willing to have conversations with people who may not look like us or who may not believe the same things that we believe.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah.
Colin and I were very fortunate here growing up here in Pensacola because the sports leagues that we grew up in, there was just all walks of life. It was just all different kinds of people, and so we didn't know. I mean, I didn't say, oh, look at this Asian guy that's on our team, or this black guy, or the Indians, or whatever. We didn't know that stuff. We just were teammates and we were brothers in arms. And I really love that you touched on that, because I know some of those guys grew up to be different types of people than the three of us are right here. That's the way I'm going to put it. Right. And it was shocking to me, but you're right. We're conditioned as we grow into out of our formative years. We as teenagers, we're conditioned by the TV and by the news, like you say, by the environments we're in. And we talk about surrounding yourself with greatness and surrounding yourself with ballers to elevate yourself. Well, if you surround yourself with haters, man, that's the way you're going to be. And the other day I was in the grocery store and there was a older gentleman than me. And I went up and I was like, hey man, has anybody told you that they loved you yet? And he was like, oh my gosh, give me a hug. I love you. He's like, man, you got hate over here and you got love over here. And he's like, it's so much harder to hate. It takes effort to hate somebody. He's like, I don't understand it. So why don't we just relax and love each other and he's like, man, I'm going to do this thing that you do. So what you're doing, Terrance, by putting out your poetry and your blog and your words when you speak on Clubhouse and podcasts and things like that, you're elevating the world. You're transforming the world from hate to love. And that's one of the main things I love about you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So let's talk about your book. I just put up another, it's not a link. I don't think you can click through it, but you can certainly write it down and go to this if you want to check out some books. But what about, let's talk just, briefly about your book, because we definitely have to get to barbecue and we definitely have to get to YouTube. Those are two of my favorite topics. And I haven't even talked about YouTube yet. So, all right.
I'm going to change that. Go ahead.
So my
Go
first
ahead.
book is Love Letters, a collection of poems, and that's the book that started from the conversation I had with my wife, which she was just my friend at the time. Um, that is it. It was supposed to be like a set of poems that go through like the day, things you encounter during the day, but then it just evolved into something different, and it's just what it says. It's like it's love letters. It's different things about love in there, introducing people to love, letting some people know that love still exists. Because one of the things that I found that people were saying a lot was that love is pain and love hurts. But every time I asked somebody why, they always named a person. It was always a person. I'm like, okay, but that person hurt you or that person caused pain, not love. I look at it like, let's say, like a drunk driver hit somebody, and they're not going to say the car hit them. They're going to say the person hit them. So I look at love like somebody who was hurt. Whoever hurt them was mishandling love. They misrepresented love. So I wanted to put that in the book to show people that love is all these different things. And then, especially coming from a man, a black man, expressing feelings in love, that's something we don't see every day. And then after I finished publishing that book, I did a second one called The Essence of Love. And this one, it's not really a second part, but I did incorporate some letters in there from people who experience love, people who were let down by love. And it starts off, with these letters to love saying that they were hurt or they were let down or things were misrepresented. And then I go through a series of poems. And then at the end of the book, there's a letter back from love, letting the people know these different things weren't me. And so the idea that I wanted to have, hopefully it translated well with anybody who read it. The idea that I had is that everything in between was showing whoever the reader is that love is not all these different things. And so that's what I started doing with my blog, was every Wednesday posted a poem about love, but then I started shifting to some positive and inspirational thing, because at the root of it all is love. So I stayed in that vein.
Come on. Well, let me ask you this. So when did this start for you? Did you start on this journey?
I'm trying to think. Was it 2016 maybe? I'm thinking
That's
2016,
awesome.
2017, something like that. It seems
What
like
what
yesterday,
spurned
but it's
that
been
on?
a while.
What action, what thought, what prayer, what was it?
I honestly, it just one day, it just happened. I guess it was seeing reality TV and different things on there with those stage fights and stage
Yeah,
arguments, and it seemed like the quality of TV shows that we had growing up, they didn't exist anymore. Like, we had wholesome family shows, and
right.
then it seemed like at that period there were more reality shows on TV that showed people disagreeing, fighting and stuff. And then there was this wave of different memes on social media that were saying negative things about love, and this one day I was just sitting, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, I can't complain about it if I'm not doing my part. And
Come on,
so
man.
that was the push to start sharing my poetry and putting things out there. It was like, I can't sit here and, like I said, I can't sit here and say, oh, this is bad, if I'm not doing anything. So I had to do something. I had to push that out there.
Man, that's
Yeah,
so incredible. Go ahead, Colin.
yeah, no, that's a good one. And it looks like Cindy Lucart said, "Love these messages. New book to order," and that's true. But like I said, you've got to do something, right? You can't just sit around. I guess you can, right? It's not Russia, as I say. We can't make you do it, right? So if you want to, you can sit around and you can do nothing. You can complain. You can impact others negatively. You can, be a bad influence on others because of
Mhm.
your negative vibes, or you can do something. You
Yeah,
can
well,
do
we
one.
all know the verse, faith without works is death,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? You can
Yeah.
have it, But if you don't do something about it, if you don't tell somebody about it, or you don't tell somebody you love them, or you don't tell somebody they're seen, they're matter, they're heard, they're valued, what's the point, right? Well, so Colin, before we get into the barbecue portion of the program, I'd like to read one of Terrance's poems. And I was checking out, I mean, he has a phenomenal poem for International Women's Day. I assume that's why it was up there, called The Essence of a Woman.
Should I get a pipe and a cognac real fast while we kick back and listen to the poetry?
You should, or you could shave your beard into a goatee and get a beanie and be a beatnik with a cup of coffee. So that
would be a beautiful sight for everyone, I'm sure. But all right, let's do it.
You have some options. But The Essence of a Woman was phenomenal. But I saw this one in the love section, and it's called because loving is deeper than hating yourself less. It's learning how to love the parts you thought were unlovable. It's learning how to go from a place where self-doubt left you stagnant. It's learning how to receive the love you don't believe you deserve. Loving yourself more is embracing who you are while healing into who you are destined to be. I mean, I will well up with tears with that one.
And Mark, could you do it one more time? Because I don't know if it was just me or if it was the broadcast, but there was a little bit crackly. Sure. The first, maybe the name of the poem and the first couple of verses. Is that what a poem has?
Am I
anyway,
eating the microphone? We'll see. Okay, let's do it one more time. This is a poem by my dear brother right here, Terrance P. Elmore. It's called Self-Love. Here we go. Loving yourself more is deeper than hating yourself less. It's learning how to love the parts you thought were unlovable. It's learning how to grow from a place where self-doubt left you stagnant. It's learning how to receive the love you don't believe you deserve. Loving yourself more is embracing who you are while healing into who you are destined to be. That last line, while healing into the destined, or to the who you were destined to be, is so powerful.
So it implies a few things. It implies that we're all broken. We're all hurt a little bit, right? We've all got a ways to go to be the person that we're supposed to be. We're always striving to be the person, or at least that's what I took from that last sentence, that last line.
Yeah, that's true. Every day we face different challenges, and some people pretend like they're not going through things, and that's very dangerous because you're holding stuff inside, and then when something does happen and you explode on people, and I was like, well, who is this person? Like, was this person a hypocrite the whole time? Like, we all go through things, and sometimes you have to let people know. I mean, you don't have to give them deep details, but hey, every day I don't have it all together, and it's okay. Because there are people watching us, there are people impressed by us, and they're thinking that we're these superheroes. And so sometimes that's intimidating somebody. Somebody might need to have a conversation with us. We might be the person that can help them, but they're afraid to talk to us because they think that we have it all together and they don't want to be embarrassed. But we all have issues. We all have problems, and it may not affect us the same way every day. It may not affect us the same way every year, but things do happen to us. Things do bother us, but it's not the things that happen to us, is what we do afterwards and how we progress from that. I'm a firm believer that the things we go through are not only for us, it's to help somebody else, to help them when they go through these things and to help them avoid certain things. The best lessons learned, I think, are the lessons that other people have been through. I don't have to go through certain things. If you've been through it and you can tell me how to avoid it, I don't want to go through things that I could have avoided just because I'm not willing to have a conversation or not willing to learn.
Ooh. Yeah, we had a guest, Heather Carter, with Bruce Pulver. They have a podcast, so we had them on, first week of January, and she's had some experiences. She also writes and all of that, but one of her phrases during that, and I think it was her, but we said it multiple times. I think she's the one that Rich said, is we go through what we go through so that we can help others get through what we went through, right? So what you're saying, we experience things for a reason, and we've got to help others with that. Another thing that we said on that particular episode was you're always one day ahead of at least one person in a similar situation, and one day behind, but you're always one day ahead. So you can always help someone with your experiences.
That's true, and
Yeah, amen. And go ahead.
that's
Go
true, and
ahead, Terrance.
that's so important. I don't think enough people realize how important that is, to realize that none of us are perfect. Just plain and simple, none of us are perfect, and it's okay. It's okay. It's okay if you're not 100%. It's okay. You just don't stay there. You find a way to get up out of there.
Right. Well, in those things that happened to you in the past are history, right? And if you Bruce Pulver it, it's his story. That's God's story. That's your
Yeah.
story that's used to help somebody and elevate. So the basis of history is his story, right? So before we get to the barbecue, I'm going to put Terrance on the spot one more time. Let's talk about your faith, because I know you're a man of God, and this is where everybody jumps off the live podcast when we start talking about God. But that
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
YouTube. You talk about God or Jesus on YouTube, all of a sudden you get a bunch of thumbs downs, you get some words, all kinds of stuff. It's great.
But we're not afraid, are we, Terrance?
No, we're not afraid. Man, God has played all of our lives, but such an important role, especially with my writings, because I'm a sports head, gearhead, cars, all that type of thing. And so it had to be him to put me here to be talking about love and all these different things, because in my podcast is geared towards inspirational things and things like that. But I wanted, if it was my choice, I would just talk about sports and stuff and be like a sports anchor all the time. But this is what the people needed in our lives, no matter who we are, is ministry. And we're supposed to be helping people. We're supposed to be bettering people's lives. We're supposed to be showing people who God is through us, through our actions and how we live. I don't think enough people do that. Some people I like to say, they try to think they're holier than thou, and they turn their
Yep.
nose up at people. But I mean, where's the love? If God is love, why are you not showing that to people? Why are you? I saw a post the other day, and it blew my mind. Someone was saying something about, like, they had an atheist that was a server, and I was like, first of all, how did you know your server was atheist? But and they said they were intentionally rude to them because they were an atheist. And I'm like, this is the things that we don't need to do. If somebody doesn't believe in God, all you're doing is forcing them not to believe in God, because your actions, like, how can you tell me that God is so great and God is so good, but then you're acting like this? So it's like we have to be examples. We have to show people who God is through our actions. So, and I'm like, so if you're a believer, your thing is to be angry and nasty towards an atheist. Why?
Right.
So it's stuff like that. It's like we have to guard our hearts. We have to show people guard our hearts with all the anger and all the negativity, but we have to show people who we are through our hearts and our actions. Show people who God is through our hearts and through our actions.
Come on.
Because at the end of the day, we're a lot of people's only introduction to him. And if you're a negative person, if you're a horrible person, and you telling me all these wonderful things about God, I'm not really going to follow you up, because I'm like, look at how you act. I can do better over here with these people
who are kind to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Colin, I know you were going to say something.
No, and today it seems like we've got a little bit of delay, which is funny because the final video never has a delay, but a lot of times, like, I can't tell that somebody's about to talk, so that's why we're talking over a little bit today. Just FYI for the audience, for the live audience. I was just laughing because we've talked about that before. I'm getting off screen here, but we've talked about that before. That we've talked about The Chosen, the Amazon series about Jesus, right, and about how. I think it's, that one focuses more about love and the other things. Right. So, I think love, and it's interesting that you say, they're like, oh, he's an atheist, so I was rude to him. Oh, good job. That probably did a lot of good. Right. I mean, at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, the disciples asked Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? And he said, it's to love God first and foremost. And secondly, it's to love your neighbor as yourself. And I say this controversial line that I'm going to take credit for because I say it a lot, but I feel like a lot of people who follow you, well, let's just say it, quote unquote Christians, they only have the Bibles with the black letters in them. They just don't, for some reason, they don't have the ones with the red letters in them, because they sure aren't reading the red letters in that Bible, right?
Right.
Like that thing you're saying on the atheist. Well, why not be kind to that atheist and show him Jesus's love and bring him into the fold, right? And Colin mentioned The Chosen. I still haven't seen the Jesus Revolution movie, but I got to go see that. But I just wanted to touch on the faith aspect, because I knew Terrance would have some mic drop moments in there, and he did. And the fact is that God is love. Jesus told us to love each other as ourselves. So the poem you just self-love that I just read, that Terrance wrote, is about loving yourself and loving others. So man, it's so powerful on that. But we have 5 minutes left, and I know Colin wanted to talk about the meat. We're going to get to the meat of the program. He wanted to talk about some barbecue, so let's go.
Well, I only wanted to talk about it in the context of we're sharing about Terrance here, right? We've talked about the Brown Sugar Cafe. We've talked about the books. We've talked about the poetry. But I know he's got a little side hustle going, or a side, another thing, and it's called barbecue. And I know in South Carolina, they like barbecue. I know in Florida, they like barbecue. I know in Texas, we like barbecue. And I was telling Terrance that even though I've got a great smoker and I've got a neighbor who's a competitive barbecuer, you know, on a team, and they do very well, and he gives me tips all the time, I just don't follow what he tells me. I'm like, I mean, at the end of the day, what do those ribbons and trophies really mean? Right. I don't, he's literally giving me the playbook and I'm not following it. And then what I do, I waste like half a day or all day preparing something. But anyway, so Terrance, you do a little barbecuing, right, on the side?
Yes. I have a barbecue page on Instagram. It's tdub.bbq. And I love grilling, barbecuing, smoking, and I decided one day to put it on Instagram. I have a TikTok page too, but I don't normally go there. And I'm also a part of another podcast. It's called Black Smoke Barbecue, and it's about 12 of us. And it's, I mean, from backyard to competition to catering. And the last episode we did, we had 2 guys on who do competition. Very in-depth conversation. I never knew all this stuff was involved with competition. You're thinking competition is kind of like backyard barbecuing, but it's not. It's more that goes into, because the judges are tasting the food, so you want to put as much flavor as you can in one bite.
One bite.
One bite. So that blew my mind, and I want to do competition later, but it's a lot that goes into it. I haven't actually smoked the brisket yet. We talked about that earlier, because it's so much, and then that's an expensive piece of meat. So if you mess that up, you're going to be frustrated. But I've had enough conversations where I think I can do it, but it takes a lot. I mean, you have to slow smoke it. I've had some brisket that wasn't slow smoked. It was not a good experience. It was like chewing a tire, but you have to make sure. It just takes patience. Like, if you're cooking the brisket, don't think that even if you started early that morning, you may not be able to enjoy it until the next day. It's just one of those things. But my favorite things to grill are like chicken, wings, ribs, things like that. But especially wings. I'm trying to do different things with some wings, different sauces and things like that. But I love grilling, man. I mean, seafood, it doesn't matter. I did a apple crumble on there. It's like first time I ever did that, smoked on it. It was really good. So I'm trying some different things, and I'm trying to, put it out there. I need to create a YouTube channel. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do that as well.
Hey, that is great. And you're right. Like I told you beforehand, if you just follow the rules, sometimes it doesn't mean it's always going to be perfect, but it is a lot better, right? There are specific rules to barbecue. But you mentioned another one of my favorite topics, YouTube. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to Terrance Brown Sugar Cafe on YouTube. It sounds like there's going to be a new barbecue channel on YouTube soon from Terrance. And maybe we can collaborate. We'll have a Texas, South Carolina barbecue channel. Mark, I know we're about to wrap it up. So,
No, we're good. No, we're good. Yeah. Are you barbecuing this weekend, Terrance?
I have a busy schedule this weekend, so no, I won't be able to. I did
Okay,
last
well, the
weekend
next
though.
time you're barbecuing, will you send me your address? I'll just
Okay.
drive up.
I got you.
I'm coming. I'm on my way. So, I get the essence of brown sugar, but I'm gonna make a little joke here. So, do you use brown sugar on your meat or just in your barbecue sauce?
I have created some rubs with some brown sugar on there, and there's a marinade that we like. It's brown sugar bourbon marinade by McCormick's. Man, that is
Ooh.
some really good marinade.
Yeah,
I'm
but
telling
I
you.
guess you've got to be careful with the brown sugar on the meat. Sometimes it can burn if you're not careful, right? I mean,
Yes,
yeah,
keep it away from direct. If you're going to put it on direct heat, you want
yeah.
to monitor it because that heat and that sugar caramelizes fast and it burns up. That's why a lot of people burn up their food because they put the barbecue sauce on too early and they put it over direct heat
Ooh.
and those flames are hitting. And then so the sauce is burning up because of the sugar.
Yeah, I've done that a few times, and my family complains, and I'm like, "No, I like it burned. I've always liked it burned like this. I love it charred. I love it charred," is what I tell them. I love charred when that happens.
I am not a char guy. I don't like it. I don't like charcoal on my meat. Right.
Right, right.
I want it to I want to taste the barbecue sauce. Let me ask you this, because I love hot sauce. I'm like a hot sauce guy. Do you marinate any meat with hot sauce?
No, I thought about that. I actually made some hot wings recently. I did that on the grill. I've
Right.
used hot sauce as a binder for ribs. That's pretty good, but I thought about it, but I was like, would that be too much heat marinating it in the hot sauce?
Never.
Never? Okay. I'll,
Well,
I'll,
my taste is I like it as hot as I can get it until I can't taste the flavor anymore.
okay,
So
I'll try it out and see.
when it's so hot that you can't taste the flavor, that defeats the purpose. But I like hot sauce a lot. Well, Colin, you have any other comments before we wrap it up with my dear brother?
No, this was great. I really enjoyed connecting with Terrance face to face. Well, I guess so to speak, face to face, in the new era of face to face. I personally have subscribed to his YouTube, and I know we have through Strike a Chord. I like watching stuff on Instagram. I went out and read his blog. I encourage everybody else to do that too. And seriously, one of these days we need to break some. I don't know if it's brisket. I don't know if it's ribs. I don't know if it's chicken, but we're going to one of these days.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to that. We got to have some face to face.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it too, man, because I dearly love you. I know it's going to be a funny picture because you look like a big man and I'm not. So, I mean, you could just like rest your elbow on my head in a picture. But man, I love you to life. And would you please come back again and hang out with us?
Oh yes, of course. Love you guys too. I had really enjoyed myself. This is really good being on. Like you said before, we were on Clubhouse and I would be in the background, but this is really good being live and being on the camera. So yeah, I definitely will be back.
Well, thank you, bro. I mean, it is a different perspective. Like a lot of people like you record your podcast. Colin and I put each other in the hot seat because whatever happens, happens, right? And it's a flow. It's a thing. So I appreciate you being here because it was just easy. We flowed and it was wonderful. And man, I just thank you so much for being here with us and can't wait to be with you again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, folks. Well, we're going to end it now. Thank you so much for being our live podcast. Like Colin said, if you would please, we're building our YouTube page. That's the focus. So if you would please follow us there at YouTube. Awesome. Yeah, we're growing exponentially on YouTube. So youtube.com/@Strike a Chord podcast. We would appreciate you folks coming to see us there. And we are out. We'll see y'all later. Peace and chicken grease.